Let's go.
How is it going today, loyalist kid? My name is Dwayne.
My name's Jasmine.
We're Dwayne and Jazz, so we have The Night My Heart Stopped Beating by Young Don the Sauce.
He probably got caught doing something.
You think so?
Who knows?
Your thumbnail looks serious. You look like he was in the hospital or something.
Oh, well then, let me not be the joke.
If you guys have a reaction request, please follow us on social media and the link in the below. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's dive on in.
So about 4 years ago, almost died. Like for real. No clickbait, no classic YouTuber exaggeration. About 4 years ago,
they
my
always
heart
be like,
stopped
no lie.
in the emergency room of a California hospital, and I almost died. So let's just jump right in, shall we? So you remember Bianca, right? From the "This Girl Was Trouble" and "I Wasn't Ready to Be a Dad" videos? Well, this happened during that little fiasco. So you might want to go watch those videos if you want to get the full context. So one night, I snuck Bianca into my room, as I had done a few times, so that we could get it cooking in the kitchen. You feel me? And I was in my bag that night. Okay, so I'm in the kitchen chefing like a young Gordon Ramsay, and then we come to the end of round one. So now it's halftime, right? Which means it's time to get some refreshments, right? Gotta restore the electrolytes, gotta get some fruit snacks in me, get some water, replenish, refuel, recharge.
Refuel.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a Gatorade
It's
commercial.
around midnight, so everybody else in the house is in bed, and I walked to the kitchen to get Bianca and I some water. And the kitchen was at most 50 feet from the bed.
You got a whole floor
Literally
plan?
2 hops and a skip away. Yet, in the short amount of time it took me to walk to the kitchen, by the time I got to the fridge, I was completely out of breath. So I'm thinking to myself, damn, I must have really been killing it. I'm not on life support right now,
Oh my goodness.
because I've never been that tired after one round, you feel me? So I get the water, I walk back to the room, and now I'm breathing heavy, like I just climbed a mountain or something, right? It was clear that something was off. So I sit on the bed beside Bianca, and she could see the concern on my
Like
face.
something's
And she's
wrong.
like, are you good? So I'm like, I don't know. I feel out of breath. My chest feels weird. So I take a deep breath, I place my hand above my heart, and I listen. And I'm no doctor, but my gut was telling me that something wasn't right. So I turned to Bianca, who had just been sitting there in silence, and I asked her to listen to my heart and see if it sounded weird, thinking that maybe I'm tripping. She puts her head up against my chest and listens intently. After about 10 seconds, she pulls her head back, and her eyes were bugging. She looks at me and is like, I don't know, Don. That doesn't sound good. So I'm like, okay, guess I'll just sleep it off.
No.
One round's good for tonight, yeah? Because I didn't think shit was that serious. Bianca, on the other hand, didn't agree. She thought I should go wake up Quinn's mom. She's like, I'm gonna go to my room so we don't get caught. As soon as I'm there, go and wake Quinn's mom. So she leaves my room, I hear the door close, and then just to be safe, I was like, alright, can't hurt. Now, if you're new to the channel, you really should watch these videos. If you want an in-depth backstory of who all these people are. But in summary, Quinn was one of my best friends while I was in college. His mom had an extra room available because his little sister went to college in Boston. So she rented it to me pretty much for free, and I lived there for almost 3 years. Bianca was a friend of their family, and she moved in for a few months before taking off to the military. And while she was there, we took a liking to each other. Last thing you should know, Quinn's mom, who I fondly called Mama Bear because of how protective she is over her kids. I mean, while I was living there, she was a gun-owning single mother with a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Meaning, she could fuck you up if she needed to, much like a real mother bear, thus the name Mama Bear. And Mama Bear just so happened to be a very experienced nurse practitioner, which is why Bianca wanted me to wake her up so she could listen to my heart. So I walk over to Mama Bear's room, I knock on the door, crack it open, and I'm like, hey Mama Bear, could you come listen to my heart? I think something might be wrong. And by this point, she's already in her mind adopted me as one of her cubs. Like I was the big brown grizzly bear she never had. So she goes straight into mom mode, right? She hops out of bed, grabs her stethoscope, sits me down, and listens to my heart. So she's doing the whole nurse thing, right? Moving it around, and the whole time, I'm just waiting for her to tell me that I was tripping. After about maybe 20, 30 seconds, she looks at me with love and concern, and very calmly says to me, okay, so honey, I don't want you to panic, but we have to take you to the emergency room. Okay? So, of course,
I start panicking. Don't ever
panicking.
listen. Don't ever tell somebody don't panic or don't be mad
Because they're going
or
to panic.
don't get sad or don't tell them to do what you don't want them to do. Just be like, get happy.
Right.
Get real happy. We gotta go to the ER. You reverse psychology.
Like, I did that literally in my last gameplay, because dude had, like, a bomb inside his stomach, and then, like, it was attached to his heartbeat, so the faster his heart beated, the faster the time went down. And so he was like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, everything's okay. And I was like, I just gotta get this out of you. He was like, do we have a little bit of time? And then I lied. I was like, you have enough time. We had 2 minutes. I was
Right.
like, we have enough time.
Right, you
Okay,
tell-
we're good.
you're good.
Just calm down, okay?
Relax.
Relax. And I'm gonna get it out.
Right, just calm
You
down.
gotta lie.
Right.
do we need to go to the emergency room? What's wrong with me? Also, hate hospitals, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's a terrible place.
I do too.
You go because of disease. If you leave in debt. And if you don't, it's because you died. So I'm like, are you sure it's that bad? She's like, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. But if we don't go now, this could get very serious very quickly. So I get dressed and we head to the hospital. We pull up and she drops me off at the entrance so that she could go find parking. And before I go inside, she tells me to say a very specific sentence to the nurse at the sign-in desk. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but whatever it was, worked. Because if you've ever been
Right.
to the ER, you would know that you're waiting at least an hour before anyone even takes your temperature. 5 minutes. After I told that nurse what Mama Bear told me to tell her, it didn't even take 5 minutes for them to call my name. So this was clearly very serious, right?
Right.
So they bring me into a room, they hook me up to an EKG, and they're tracking my heart rate. And up until this point, no one has told me what's going on. Not even Mama Bear, right? I just know something's wrong with my heart. Mama Bear walks into the room, and I see her look at the EKG monitor. At which point, her face just gets like serious. I look at the nurse that's attending to me, and she's looking serious too. So I'm like, hey,
What's going on?
what's going on? The
Right.
nurse turns to me and is like, Mr. Hines, everything's gonna be okay. Okay, the doctors will be with you shortly. I'm like,
Okay.
doctors? As in like,
Multiple?
Well, we need more than one. I just got one heart, right? That's like one heart, one doctor. Like, what's going on? The nurse
Right.
leaves, and then Mama Bear, who could see that I was stressing, turns to me and is like, okay, so it looks like you have AFib, which is what I suspected. So
What is
I'm
that?
like, what's AFib?
Right.
AFib, or atrial fibrillation, is an irregular and often rapid heart rate that occurs when the two upper chambers of your heart experiences chaotic electrical signals. Much like a good hip-hop trap beat, a healthy heart rate is consistent and rhythmic. Kind of like the beat I'm playing right now. That's nice, right?
Yeah.
It's good rhythm. A heart with AFib, on the other hand, is better represented by a beat that sounds like this. It's a regular, it's fast, it's a beat. Fast forward maybe 5 minutes.
And my little beat down was little, he had to like.
Horns and like.
When you're home.
So when your homies music is trash, but you got great
Support
to
it. You gotta support your homies mixtape. You gotta do it. Okay, alright. I'm sorry. This is serious. I'm sorry.
Now I'm in a different hospital bed, and I'm surrounded by like 7 doctors. The main doctor comes up beside me, and he starts to break it down. So, Mr. Hines, as you now know, we've diagnosed you with acute atrial fibrillation. And this is very strange, because you're clearly a young and healthy male with no history of heart conditions. To be frank with you, Mr. Hines, this condition pretty much only occurs in older people, as well as people with defective hearts. So, we're not sure why this happened, but we will stop it. So first, I'm going to ask you to take a big breath in. I want you to hold it and bear it down on your bowels as if you're trying to take a shit. I swear to God, that's what he said. So that's what I did. He gave me a minute, checked my heart rate, and then was like, okay, so now we're going to try something a little more serious. We're going to attempt some chemical cardioversion. I'm going to inject you with this medicine, and that will hopefully take you out of the AFib. I say okay. He sticks me with the needle. Wait a couple more minutes. He checks my heart rate.
Okay.
No dice. So now he's like, well, Mr. Hines, fortunately, it's come to our last option. We're going to have to attempt electrical cardioversion. So I'm like, What's that?
Is
He
that
then says,
this?
Right.
we're gonna attempt to shock your heart back in rhythm.
Whoa.
Use a machine to generate a low voltage, which will briefly stop your heart and restart it. Think of it like hitting the restart button on your computer when it starts to lag. So I'm like, you mean like the clear thing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the clear thing. So now I'm scared, right? So I'm like, Doc, come on, man. There are no other options? He's
Right.
like, yeah, but we did them already. Remember? So I'm like, oh, well,
Damn.
what if we
Oh,
didn't
no.
do it then? Well, seeing that your heart rate hasn't dropped under 100 BPM since you've been here, this has been persistent for what now? About an hour, with no signs of slowing down. Also taking into account that previous attempts of cardioversion failed, my best estimation is that a blood clot will eventually form in one of the upper chambers of your heart, which will eventually escape and make its way to your brain, at which point you will suffer a stroke. Best case scenario, you will have partial paralysis of your body and face. Worst case scenario is death. So what would you like to do? So how exactly does this shit? What part goes on my chest?
What would you like to do?
Shock me, nigga. Shock me. So they apply the package to my chest. They hook me up to the machine, and then they hit me with some anesthesia. They told me I wasn't gonna feel anything, and that I should count to 10. So I start
Oh my
counting. And
God.
by the time I get to 8, I was waking up to a very happy mama bear. I turn to her, and I'm like, so are they gonna do it? And she's like, oh, honey, they already did it. I'm like, no way. She's like, yep, your heart's back in rhythm. They released me that night, and it hasn't happened ever since. Doctors don't think it will ever happen again. A freak incident is what they call it. Wanna know what I call it? A1 box. Shit was so good, I almost put me in a box, nigga. God damn. But I tell you what it feels like.
Okay.
Still, that's what he got from it.
Right. I'm like,
It was so good, I almost died.
I died in the box. That was serious though. That was very serious.
Yes. I would be scared.
I would be scared too.
I would be scared if I'm going through all of this and nobody's like
I would be scared too. I'm like, pray to God.
telling me what's going on.
That doctor was straight to the point.
I mean, they kind of have to be. I would prefer you be like
Yeah.
very straight to the point instead of dancing around it.
I was
Like,
like, well,
okay, this is what's happening. This is what we got to do.
that doctor
okay?
was like, no, we done this, we done that. Now you must die.
Is that now we either
Now you
do
must
this shock thing,
Right.
or
You
you
might.
can take the chance of being paralyzed and die? Which one you want to do?
Right, you might die.
What's
Yeah.
the choice here?
I wouldn't want to go to the hospital right now. Like, what's going on right now? Like, no.
He's like, you gonna die. But yeah, I've had problems before,
With your
like my chest, and I don't know. I still don't know what's up. It wasn't like a shortness of breath or anything like that. It was more
It
like,
was weird because it was whenever you ate beef.
yeah,
That's when it would like
Yeah.
trigger it or something
I've
like that.
definitely
So definitely stop
eating beef.
Yeah, I don't eat it anyway. But
Yeah,
like,
I've stopped. I eat it now and then, and it doesn't even be like that much. It might be. If anything, I get like a half rack of ribs, and that is very seldom. I love ribs, but other than that, yeah, like after
ribs ain't.
ribs, it's like, is it
Is
beef?
ribs beef?
I don't know.
I don't eat them, so I don't know.
We eat a lot of chicken. We don't eat a lot of beef.
I'm gonna say I eat chicken. You eat everything.
I eat everything, but I've definitely turned on the beef, and we've been eating more like chicken, way more chicken, and way more like shrimp and fish and stuff. So changing our diet. But anyway, comment below, guys. Let us know what you think.
Don't forget to like,
Subscribe
and
and share some
share.
more.